So here's a follow-up video on the Supercross Blast. I'll apologise first because of the wind. It's very windy here today, so that might affect the sound slightly. I always said I would do another follow-up of these, and it's ended up being 500 miles where I've got to when I'm doing this video. So running through how they are after 500 miles. I've cleaned them up quite a lot, as you can see, because they're used in a lot of mud and mucky conditions around where I live. Starting with the sole, doesn't look very worn. There's a little bit here and there. This chevron here is worn just sort of on the edge, and the noticeable thing, which I could feel when I was running there, was when I press at the middle there in the ball of the foot. It's a bit more squishy now, certainly a bit more give there than there would have been originally, and as I say, when I've been running I have been noticing it on the ball of my foot afterwards a little bit. And 500 miles to me was a kind of a cut-off point where I thought, well, if they're just not feeling quite what they were and they're quite well worn in other places, then I'll just stop using them at 500 miles. Before I go on to the rest of the upper, just to talk about the laces. The first pair of these on the previous model that I had, where they were changed under warranty anyway, the laces did actually snap as well, but I was already getting them replaced under warranty, so I never replaced the laces. These laces have actually been absolutely fine. They've not worked loose, which happened again in the previous model, and no sign of snapping whatsoever. They're absolutely fine. So onto the rest of the upper, where the initial issues were in the first model, the holes, like you see here, none of that actually sort of started happening till 400 miles. The holes began to form, so they did quite well. They got to 400, and then it was very rapid, as you can see, getting to 500 miles when the holes formed quite a lot. And on the other side here, you can't quite put your finger through there. There's two layers to that, but these patches here kind of stopped it from getting really, really bad. The right foot was much worse than the left. It's just about to go through on the left foot, and it's just going through a bit on the other side of the left foot there as well. So the only other thing I could feel, you couldn't see, was just about there inside. You can feel where your big toe is kind of making holes on the fabric inside. That's more probably to do with my toes. Terrible for keeping my toenails properly clipped, but just a little thing there. And if you look inside, I don't know if you can see it. No, I don't think you can. Just a little bit of wear on the inside and little bits of wear inside the heel there. So generally they got to about where I wanted them to be, got to 400 before any of the holes really started to come along, and then in that last 100 miles of using the shoes, those holes got really big. It still felt fine running in them with those holes, but as I say, the main thing that was making me just a bit wary was the ball of the foot area where it just had that squish, and I just didn't want to risk an injury, so I kind of thought 500 miles, that's a good place to stop. And I think that's about it. I've got a second pair of these because I'm not so keen on the way they've changed the model in the Supercross 3. They've taken away again this little bit of patching that stops any holes that form from getting too big, which to me feels a little bit like a backward step. So I have bought up a few extra models of these because I like them so much. I did actually get myself a pair that was white, and I think that's why they were cheap. I think they marketed these probably as a little bit of a gymnasium CrossFit kind of a shoe. So a pure white pair look absolutely ridiculous in muddy trails. Not sure quite why I bought them, other than the fact that they were very, very cheap. And now they do look a bit silly, and I've got a few sarcastic comments at work about them, but they're still going to do me well. And they're already not really very bright white because they've already been through the mud and muck. And I put another second pair away again, so I've got two more pairs of these lined up in different colours. Another pair that's black and white. So that's all I can say about them. Very pleased with them. I just wish that Salomon hadn't changed them in the Supercross 3, and maybe by the time we get to a 4 they'll put these patches back in which work so well. Okay, thanks for watching.